What's up everyone, Clayton here, and today we are here with day 2 of the Skyrim builds, 7 builds in 7 days. This one is going to be a vampire build that was been asked for by someone, Build-A-Fix, I think is his name. If I remember to put his name in, I'll put it in the video right here so you can give him some credit for calling me out and say make this build, and it's been taking me a long time to do it, and I apologize for that. So anyways, first we're going to go through what the human form is going to be like, and then into the vampire lord form. So this build I like to call the lord, because you're pretty much the lord of the vampires. Your story kind of starts when you defeat Harkin at the end of the Dawnguard DLC. Without the Dawnguard DLC, you're going to have a little bit of problem with the second half of the build, which is where the vampire lord comes into. You can always just use the regular human form, but you kind of don't get the completeness out of the build. So you if you want to play as a role playing, you kind of want to disregard all the dragons and kind of just focus on the dawnguard and being like either a really bad vampire killing all the humans, or a good vampire that's just kind of rule the vampires into an age of prosperous adventures, I guess. So for this character, race doesn't really matter. I picked Imperial just because they kind of gives that lord, ruler look, because the Imperial City and all. So that's what I choose for race. You can pick whatever you want. Probably stay away from like Argonians or Khajiits or Beast races, just because they don't really fit this as well. So for the skills, there's kind of a lot of skills for this, but you won't be spending much time into this. So if you don't use all the skills, that's perfectly fine. So some of the skills you want to use is illusion, conjuration, destruction, restoration, one-handed, and I always pick these two, which is enchanting and smithing, just because they boost your stats really well, especially enchanting with vampires, which I'll get into later. So for illusion, you pretty much just want to get things to help your illusion spells do the most to higher level characters. I use pacify, rout, pretty much all three of the main frenzy, making people run away, and calming spells, because you're a lord, but you want to manipulate your enemies into like fighting each other, running away, or calming them down if you bite off more than you can chew. And that's kind of how that goes, because you don't want to get your hands dirty. If you use a frenzy spell, AoE frenzy spell, just let everyone fight them out. You fight when everyone's weak, and you win. That kind of fits in with the next ability or skill line, which is conjuration. Conjuration, this isn't really using it as a Atronox or anything. You will be using more of a necromancer, and you're reviving bodies to fight for you. So once again, you don't have to get your hands dirty. You're the lord. You're the leader. You shouldn't have to fight by yourself, which is what I'm trying to say. You kind of use your followers, I guess. Your followers you make from the dead that you kill. That makes no sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. But the next thing is destruction. Destruction, you want to use ice magic, such as like ice spike, frost cloak, things of that nature, just because vampires are kind of seen with more magic spells, as well as they're the creatures of the night, so the ice fits in a lot better than fire, because fire is kind of fire is really strong against vampires, so they probably don't really want to use it that much. So for that, you want to be able to get as much ice damage as you can, so you want to put perks into that, as well as to reduce the cost of magicka. The next thing is restoration, which can be very important if you want to fight during the day. If you get the spell necromantic healing, I think it's the perk where vampires or the undead heal much more. You can use it on yourself to make your healing even more, so you can heal more, as well as using respite to gain stamina during the day. So if you're like running somewhere and it's during the day and you don't regen stamina, you can use your healing to give you stamina, make sure you can run to that place faster and not have to walk all the way there. The next thing is one-handed, and that's just kind of as a backup. For all my mages, I have one-handed just in case I run out of magicka, and if I run out of magicka, I'm pretty much useless. So I use one-handed as just a way to do damage while my magicka regens, which it brings me to my next thing, which is enchanting. Enchanting is really important on this because you can use enchanting to increase your magicka or health regen, which I think through my practices, it still makes your magicka regen during the day if you have extra magicka regen stacked onto it. So if you put magicka regen on your equipment, you can still get magicka during the day, but I wouldn't recommend fighting during the day because your stats are lessened. And so that's pretty much your main skills. So we're gonna go in the armor real quick and get this through real quick. I use Harkin's sword as my one-handed. If you use one-handed, you don't have to. For armor, I use Harkin's vampiric royal armor, which has 125 magicka regen on it, which is pretty good, as well as the vampire boots and the vampire gauntlets. They kind of have claws on them. You get those gauntlets in the back way into Castle Volkihar before you go into the Soul Cairn. And for all the Harkin stuff, you get it from killing him. And the sword's really good if you want to use it, and it gives enchantment based on if you're a vampire. If you're not a vampire, the enchantment doesn't work. And for stats distribution, what I mean by that is health, magicka, and stamina. I would put more into magicka and health and less into stamina. This is my personal opinion. As well as for the standing stone, you might want to look into using the Lord or the Atronach stone to be a little bit more tanky. For the Atronach stone, you would tank more spell damage. Anyways, we'll get into the Vampire Lord form. This is where you'll be spending most of your time anyways, and you know, the other part doesn't really matter. You can change it up as much as you want. For the Vampire Lord, you get it right when you start the dawnguard quest if you decide to side with the vampires, which you have to do. There's two forms. You have your melee form and your ranged form. Your melee form, you pretty much just get to punch and slap people with your claws. These have upgrades with your perks because you have a vampire tree. Once you're in your vampire form, you can look at your tree and upgrade your perks. The ranged form has all the spells. And these are kind of the cool ones. You have like a health drain. You can revive people on the ground. And getting more perks will gain you more skills, such as a vampire grip, which means you can like pick people up and throw them. You can summon you can summon gargoyles. You can do a whole bunch of other different things that are really cool. And you just kind of have to read through your perks. It's more of a preference of what perks you want. You can leave some perks out if you want. If you're not going to go in melee form, you wouldn't really want to get perks that deal with your melee. But it just kind of depends on what you want to do overall with your build. And maybe you don't want to use Vampire Lord as much, so you stick more with the human form. But I think the main point of the Lord is to use your Vampire Lord form to overwhelm your enemies and just kind of, you know, show people who's boss. So I know this video has gotten kind of long and there's a lot of information to digest, but there will be more information in the description to help out along with perks and things of that nature. And I hope you guys don't mind a longer video. This is almost about 8 minutes, but there's a lot of explaining to do because there's kind of two different forms of fighting here. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Also right here there should be some videos, if you haven't already seen them, of previous builds. And if you like this, you might like those, so go click on those. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and this is Clayton, signing off.